Welcome back. President Biden will release 10 million more barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve next month, following OPEC Plus's decision to cut back production, 2 million barrels a day. The announcement coming just one day after Fox Business White House correspondent Edward Lawrence pressed the White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on future releases of that oil in the Strategic Reserve. Watch.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the runoff or release of 1 million barrels a day ends at the end of this month. Is there any conversations about releasing more oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? How's the president going to keep the supply up?
So we're not considering new releases from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve beyond the 180 million, which is what you're speaking about the 1 million that the president announced months ago. We don't have anything more to share, or we're not going to be considering new releases.
Joining me right now is former acting White House Chief of Staff and former OMB Director Mick Mulvaney. Mick, good to see you this morning. What's your reaction to all of this news? The president continues to release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as a way to keep oil prices down. And now we get OPEC Plus saying we're going to cut back on production. That's going to send prices higher.
Yeah. Good morning, Maria. Thanks, as always, for having me. When I watch that video, what I immediately think of, as having been inside a West Wing, is that what that tells you when the press secretary yesterday says they're not preparing or considering any additional releases, and then they immediately do it 24 hours later, it means that they didn't expect these cuts. These cuts came as a surprise to them. They must have had some insight that said it wasn't going to happen, so they got caught flat-footed. If they knew those cuts were coming or expected that they would have come, they would have developed a plan beforehand and immediately announced the SPR reserve as sort of a way to blunt the damage to the economy. But that didn't happen. What that means is that they have no idea what's going on, and they had no anticipation in advance that this cut was going to come.
Well, I don't know how they have no idea, Mick, really. I mean, look, we're now hearing that the president may relax sanctions on Venezuela. I mean, we're talking about this need and this dependency on overseas players for oil as the president continues to attack the fossil fuel industry. The U.S. Oil and Gas Association is fighting back. They mock the Biden administration. Here's this tweet yesterday from that group. They say, OPEC says no, SPR options all but gone. The White House has one option left, and it is the one option they should have never turned away from in the first place. That is U.S.-based oil and gas industry. Life comes at you pretty fast. Your reaction?
The reaction is this, is that they're absolutely right, is that the prices are going up because of supply and demand, right? There's no reason we cannot be supplying more gas and oil into our own markets. We were net exporters of energy under Donald Trump. The Biden administration has completely tied our hands. But go back to the point about them being flat-footed. I just think they don't understand the world. One of the stories, I happen to be in London, one of the stories that's getting a lot of attention here is that one of the reasons that the Saudis especially drove this decision to reduce the output is they're upset with the Americans over the continued negotiations with Iran on the nuclear deal. To Saudi Arabia, to the UAE, a nuclear-powered Iran is an existential threat, and it's one of the things that's undermining the relationship. One of the reasons that the Saudis could not be counted on like they were in the past is that they're not happy with the Biden administration. And I think the Biden administration doesn't get it. So, yeah, I stand by the proposition that they got caught flat-footed. They don't understand what's happening in the world. They think everything is the way they think it is, and everybody is sort of going green energy, that everybody's against Russia. That's simply not the case. It's a naive group of people running the country right now, and we're paying the price for it. You're going to see probably 30 cents additional per gallon between now and the election. My guess is this probably makes 5-10 seats go Republican in the House, simply because of the ineptitude of the Biden administration.
Well, you say naive, but also unprepared. I mean, every day we hear another gaffe, whether it's from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, and you're talking about Iran. Look, this president wants to strengthen the Iranian leadership's hand now at the time that the Iranian people are in the street chanting death to the supreme leader. He's apparently on his deathbed, but why would we want to strengthen leadership's hand rather than working with or standing by for the Iranian people? And it's not just the Saudis upset with Biden, it's also the American people. His approval rating is plummeting, Mick. The Reuters Ipsos poll finds that only 40% of Americans actually approve of his job performance, with just over a month until the midterm elections. Does this play out positively for the Republicans in the midterms? What do you think this approval rating means in these upcoming elections?
what it means is that voters and many swing voters, folks who watch your show regularly, probably have already made up their minds on how to vote. Folks who watch other networks make up their minds, but a lot of folks don't make up their minds on how to vote until the last couple of weeks. And the price of oil, the price of gasoline, the price of food is going to make a big difference. As Bill Clinton correctly said a generation ago, what's the biggest issue in an election? It's the economy, stupid. And it is. This is going to cost the Democrats seats. Because people are starting to realize that elections do have consequences. And when you elect Joe Biden and the Democrats, your cost of living goes up because of their policies and because of their ineptitude. So I think that's what you're seeing in the approval ratings. It's historically low. I don't think you'll see the type of red wave that we had in 2010 because we already have a lot of the seats. We had, I think, 170 going into the midterms in 2010. We have 210 right now. So you're not going to see 70 seats, but you'll see a considerable pickup in the House, in large part because of Democrat policy.
Well, I can't wait to see who's going to be running for president on both sides after the midterm elections in early 23. This is going to be something to watch. Mick, great to talk with you, and we'll be talking with you along the way. Thanks so much. Mick Mulvaney joining us this morning.